Dad, you want me to marry Maria, right? Yeah, if you want me, your mom, and this company, then you will have to choose Maria over that maid. I'm ready to marry Maria. Start the preparations for the marriage, he said, and a drop of tear escaped from his eyes. Yeah, that's like my son. I'm so proud of you for making the right decision. Jungkook's shoulders slump in defeat as he nods silently, his sadness palpable in the air. Mrs. John felt bad as she sensed the sadness in his eyes. Good, we will make arrangements for the wedding right away. I won't let you change your mind again. Don't worry, Dad, it won't change now. Jungkook's heart aches with the weight of his decision, but he knows there is no turning back now. Maya sits in her room, her mind consumed by the thoughts of Jackson. She replays there and the intimacy they shared over and over again, unable to shake the memory from her mind. With a beaming smile on his face, Maria's father, Mr. Lee, enters her room. Maria, my dear, your dad is here with a good news for you. Maria looked at him and gave him fake smile. And what is that, Dad? You are getting your dream boy, he said with a big smile, but Maria frowned. What do you mean, Dad? Jungkook got ready for the marriage, and you know what? He even said to start the preparations for the wedding as soon as possible. Maria always wished for this, but she didn't knew why. She didn't got happy on hearing this. Aren't you happy, dear? He asked while frowning. No, I mean yes, Dad. I'm so happy. She smiled fakely. Yes, you are getting married to a good man, and that's something to be happy about. Maria nods, trying to push aside her doubts and focus on the excitement of her upcoming marriage, but deep down she can't shake the feeling that something is not quite right. As Maria embraces her father, a knock interrupts their movement. Mr. Lee turns to the door, surprised to see Jackson standing there. Mr. Lee, I need to speak with you. I want to resign. Resign? Why, Jackson? You are our most trustworthy employee. What's the matter? Tell us. We will solve it for you. Jackson's gaze shifted to Maria, his expression softening with regret. I'm resigning for some personal reasons, sir. Mr. Lee nods in understanding, his heart heavy with disappointment. Okay, if that's what you feel is best. Jackson nods, then turned to leave. Maria's heart dropped on seeing him leaving, and unknowingly tears wells up in her eyes. As she watches his departure, her heart heavy with sadness. When she realized that she will never be able to see him again, now when he was going away, then she was realizing his value in her life. Jackson, stop! Please don't go. She called him in loud voice, which made Mr. Lee to frown. He watched Maria rushing after Jackson. She catches up to him and wraps her arm around him from behind. Jackson got shocked. He was confused as well. Jackson, I love you. I have been so blind, but now I see you are the one I want. Jackson got stunned by Maria's sudden confession. He turns to face her, his eyes glisten with emotion. Ma'am, do you really? She nodded instantly before he could even complete the sentence. Their tender movement got interrupted by Mr. Lee, who arrives just in time to witness Maria's heartfelt declaration. Maria, what's going on? Maria turns to her father, tears streaming down her cheeks. Dad, I'm sorry. I can't marry Jungkook. I love Jackson. He is the one who makes me happy. He was always there for me whenever I was alone or sad. Maria dear, all I want for you is to be happy. Money means nothing compared to your happiness, and I can trust on Jackson for you as he is trustworthy and he is working for us from years. I am happy for you both. Be happy always, and Jackson, take care of my daughter. Yes, sir, I will. With tears of joy and relief, Maria embraces her father, knowing that she has his support in her decision to pursue her true happiness with Jackson. Jungkook sits alone in his room, lost in sea of despair, tears streaming down his face. Suddenly Mr. John barges in, followed by Mrs. John. Jungkook, Maria broke off the marriage. She called me herself and said you are not good enough for her. What does she think of herself? What? Wasn't she dying to marry our son before? Now she is saying that our cook is not good enough for her, and she herself is going to marry her bodyguard. Yes, how can she even say like that to my son? I will take revenge of this insult. Dad, stop, don't do anything. Maybe she refused for marriage because she loves her bodyguard and don't wants to marry someone else other than him. Still, we made a deal and that Lee just didn't consider the deal and agreed to his daughter's unnecessary wish. Maybe he is not like you. Maybe his daughter's happiness matters the most to him. Jungkook said in low voice with a mix of hurt and sadness. Mr. John's expression softens slightly, a flicker of understanding crossing his features. Mrs. John regretted badly for never taking a stand for her son. Mom, Dad, I want to be alone for some time. Please close the door before leaving. Okay, dear, take some rest. They both came out of Jungkook's room. Mrs. John took glance of him and her heart ached on seeing sadness on his face. I wonder what suddenly happened that he agreed to marry Maria when he was stick to his decision of not leaving Van. You're right. It's all your mistake. You got blinded by money and ignored our son's feelings. I have realized that I did wrong, but now how should I make everything right? Do whatever my son wants. I can't see him sad and lost. I think we should accept his advanced relationship because, as far as I know, he doesn't want anything more than Van. You are right. We should call Van right away. You nervously entered inside Jungkook's house. You eyed here and there to get glimpse of him as you were missing him so badly, but he was nowhere to be seen. Soon you approached Mr. and Mrs. John. You called for me, Mr. John? You asked in low voice. Yes. Tell me why Jungkook suddenly agreed to marry Maria when he was so stubborn to not to leave you at any cost. I asked him to marry Maria. And why, though? Because I didn't want him to separate and go against both of you. Mr. John and Mrs. John both looked at each other for some seconds, then turned their gaze to you. And what if we agree to your relationship? Then I'll cherish him forever. Again, Mr. and Mrs. John glanced at each other and secretly nodded. Then show us how much you love our son. Hmm? Go to him, talk to him, do whatever it takes, but make him like before again. Make him cheerful again. We just want our son's happiness. A blissful smile bloomed across your face. Thank you so much, Mr. John. I will make him cheerful. I will give him so much love. Thank you so much for accepting us. You jumped in excitement. He nodded, then signaled you to go to Jungkook's room. You too nodded, then made your way towards his room. After you left, Mr. John and Mrs. John both chuckled at your cuteness. Soon you reached outside Jungkook's room, your heartbeat fastened unknowingly. You nervously knocked on the door but flinched on his reply. Mom, I already told you I want to be alone for some time, so please let me. He misunderstood you as his mom. It's me, Jungkook, you said in almost low voice. Jungkook's expression changed on recognizing your voice. He instantly ran towards the door and opened it. What yours and his eyes met, he was just going to hug you, but something crossed his mind, and he backed off from you and made cold face. What are you doing here? Didn't you want me to marry Maria? Now what are you here for? Jungkook, please. I'm sorry, you said in almost cracked voice. I don't want to hear any sorry from you. Kindly go away from here. You shook your head. Jungkook, I said so because I didn't want you to go against your family. By saying that, you only proved that you never loved me. No, no, Jungkook, it's not like this. Please try to understand. I don't want to understand anything anymore. Your heart dropped on hearing him. Tears made their way from your eyes. You were looking at him hopefully, but he was looking some other side with a straight face. Jungkook, I know I am wrong. I know I didn't fought enough for you, for our love. But tell me, what should I do? If you didn't marry Maria, then according to your dad, you would have lost your parents and the company too. Then how would you have lived your life? Jungkook, you already know that I'm not that rich. I couldn't provide you all the richy and classy life. And you know that your room alone is my house size. Then tell me, how would you have survived in my little house? That's why I asked you to leave me. I didn't ask you to marry Maria because I don't love you. Please understand. Van, are you mad? I do not want any luxurious life. I only want you. If you would have lived on the roadside, then I too would have lived on the road with you. You are mad. Why would you struggle with me? Because I love you, you idiot, he said a little fiercely. You got extremely glad from inside on hearing him. You instantly approached him and hugged him tightly. I love you too, Jungkook. Please don't turn your back on me. Spit out anger and forgive me. You tightened the hug and waited for him to hug you back. Jungkook sighed, then he too wrapped his arms around you securely and snuggled more into you, and you smiled happily. I can't stay mad at you for much time anyways. Thank you, Jungkook. You both remained in the same position for a long time, then pulled away from each other. But Van, how you managed to come here? Mr. John himself called me. What? What are you even saying? I myself was shocked and scared at first that why would he call me out of sudden. Then what did he call you for? You smiled, then told him everything, whatever you talked with Mr. John. What? Dad agreed for our relationship? He asked excitedly. You smiled before saying, Yes, Jungkook. Oh my god, I'm so happy. He picked you up in his arms and spun you around. Yeah, cook, put me down. He continued spinning you in excitement. You hit slightly on his shoulder and asked him again to put you down. He chuckled, then puts you down on the floor. You hold your head as it was spinning. Sorry, I just got overexcited. He cupped your face and started all over on it. I'm so happy, Ryan. Let's be together from now onwards. You happily nodded before saying, Yes, cook, let's be together. He at last pecks your forehead. Wait here for some minutes. I'll come right away. I'll come with you. He smiled, then pats your head. Okay, come. Jungkook excitedly ran outside his room. He looked down from the hallways and found his parents sitting in living room. He out of excitement starts shouting. Dad, Dad, I'm so happy. Thank you so much for accepting us. He said loudly. His parents looked up. Mr. John smiled on hearing Jungkook, but then he got worried for him as he starts descending the stairs fastly. Jungkook dear, slowly, you will get hurt. he said worriedly. You got buried too as he was going down the stairs with insane speed. Jungkook slowly, you will get hurt. Mrs. John too warned him and asked him to go down slowly, but he unheard everyone and once he came downstairs, he ran towards Mr. John and hugged him tightly. Thank you so much, Dad. I never thought that you will agree for this. I am so happy, Dad. I just love you. Mr. John smiled before hugging him back. Mrs. John and Brian smiled on seeing this scene. I'm sorry for forcing you earlier to marry Maria. Forgive me, son. No, it's okay, Dad. It doesn't matter that much, as now you have accepted us. Then Jungkook looked towards his mom and found her smiling. He approached her and hugged her. Thank you, Mom. I'm so happy, he said after breaking the hug. Mrs. John kissed his cheek before saying, I can see that. Seems like you love Van too much. Yes, Mom, of course. I love her more than myself, he said while looking at you, and you blushed. Then, should we start the preparations for your wedding? What? Dad, you my marriage? Yes, won't you marry Van? Yes, Dad, I will. Thank you, Dad. He again hugged him, and Mr. John chuckled. Now you both go upstairs, spend some time with each other. Let me and your mom discuss about your wedding. Okay, Dad. He excitedly nods, then held your wrist and made his way upstairs together with you. Once you both left, Mr. John looked at Mrs. John. I was going to do such a big mistake. I was going to throw our son in a forced marriage in which he would never be happy. Yes, dear, I tried to tell you, but you were not ready to listen. I regret not listening to you. Did you see right now how happy he was? Yes, I saw. From now onwards, I will never force my son to do things. He will do everything according to his will. I just want my son to be happy. He will be glad to know this. I will organize Jungkook's marriage with great mom and so, yes, we will.